Hello everyone, Ollie here from ℽ𝕧𝕚𝕚 Cinema, and welcome back to another film review. Today, I'm going to be reviewing The Invite, which is Olivia Wilde's third feature film, because she's now done, well, technically 5 films. She's done 2 short films and now 3 feature films over her directing career. So yeah, speaking of that, before I do get into my thoughts on The Invite, I want to quickly run down my thoughts on the films of hers that I've seen previously to The Invite. So the first film I saw of hers was Don't Worry Darling, which is a very very controversial film in itself, mainly because behind the scenes of the film, most people at the time of the release were more interested in what the hell was going on behind the scenes of the film rather than the actual film itself. So I tried to take not much knowledge of it, even though I found out a couple of things, but I'm not going to get into it now because there's just no need. But the film itself I remember liking because I've only seen it the one time when it first came out back in late 2022. I think it was like September 2022, I think. And I've only seen it that one time. I wish I could have revisited it yesterday when I was going to try and rewatch it, but I just didn't have time to. I also couldn't watch Booksmart, her first feature film, because, again, time. I wish I could have, but I didn't, because I was hoping to do a ranking video for 5 of Olivia Wilde's films. But that's not going to be happening now. So, but yeah, and I've watched her 2 short films, Free Hugs and Wake Up, yesterday, because they're only like, I think Free Hugs was like 20-25 minutes, and Wake Up was about 11 minutes, I think, just over 10 minutes. So short films, they are short films. So I could watch those, but I couldn't watch Booksmart or rewatch Don't Worry Darling, unfortunately. But I didn't need to, but I tend to like watching directors' previous works, even if I have already watched them before, just because I like to refresh what their directing style and what their films are like, basically. So yeah, that's my knowledge on Olivia Wilde. I mean, as a director, not only did Olivia Wilde direct The Invite, she also starred in it alongside Seth Rogen, Penelope Cruz, and Edward Norton. They are essentially the only 5 characters in the film, or the only cast members. There are like a few probably extras in like the very beginning of the film, like there's this orchestra. 4 characters pretty much, and the majority of this film is basically set in this one apartment. Which is a very interesting choice on behalf of Olivia Wilde. But this is apparently, I only just found this out literally shortly after I watched the film. Apparently this is actually a English remake of a Spanish film. I'll put the title on the poster in the edit, but I completely forgot what it was called. I'm actually kind of glad that I didn't watch this film beforehand, because I don't want to be comparing films. I'd rather watch this film as its own thing without having to compare lots of things, because it's kind of unfair, really. But maybe at some point I will watch it and see what the differences are. But in terms of coming to this film and just experiencing it and giving my opinions on it as its own thing, that's what I wanted to do. So yeah, that's what I did. But anyway, let's get into my thoughts on The Invite, starting with my positives. Positives on The Invite. My first positive, I think the performances were really solid. I think there are some better than others. I think Olivia Wilde and Edward Norton were the standouts. Olivia Wilde, I just think what was really kind of funny about her character, I mean, not only was she kind of anxiety driven mostly throughout this film, because she's kind of like the frantic one doing all the planning and stuff of this couple, because her character Penelope is with Joe, Seth Rogen's character, and so she's kind of the more kind of organized, frantic individual.
Hi, come in. That is so nice, thank you.
So, and also her facial expressions throughout the film, she has very particular expressions that she makes throughout the film, which kind of makes me laugh, and it made some of the audience members laugh also in the auditorium. So she was very good. Nothing against, by the way, Seth Rogen. I think Seth Rogen was actually surprisingly good. Like, I think, because I've mostly known him in comedies, and this is a comedy, but there are some parts of the film that actually are taken seriously, and I think Seth Rogen mostly does a good job with the serious parts of the film, because I don't think I've ever seen him in a serious role before.
Are we expecting people? Can we put curtains on this window? I don't like how they can see into our apartment. This shirt, well, it's nice. It looks really good on you.
Take them off?
I don't give a fuck if you take your shoes off.
Maybe he has been in other serious films before, but mostly he's predominantly known for being a comedian and a comedy actor more than anything. So seeing him having a bit of a serious, a little bit of a serious side to him with his character is certainly a surprise, and is good. And I said Edward Norton as well as Olivia Wilde was the standout. I think Edward Norton had the best comedic timings of all the characters, I think, because just his character, which is named Hawk, he has great comedic timing. I'm trying not to spoil too much. There is one thing I want to get into spoilers near the end when I talk about the ending. So obviously when it's time, I'll let you know when I talk spoilers. But I'm going to try and keep it spoiler free as much as I can throughout this video. But Edward Norton, I mean, I love Edward Norton, by the way. I mean, he's great in Fight Club. He was in a couple of Wes Anderson's films that I've seen, and he's also very good in those. And I really like his Hulk in The Incredible Hulk, one of the earlier MCU films, a very underrated, underappreciated film, Marvel film. And I think he's good in that. But yeah, Edward Norton's great. Penelope Cruz, her name rang a bell when I was looking at the cast for this film, but I don't think I'd seen her in anything else apart from this. And I thought she was good as well. She's a Spanish actress, and the way they incorporate the Spanish language in this film as well, I need to point out, which Penelope and Edward also, they speak Spanish sometimes throughout this film, which is quite a funny gag in the film. I won't go into any specifics again, but the way they incorporate the Spanish language to kind of hide the kind of funny language barrier kind of thing, because that's kind of trope that happens in some comedy films, but they do it well here. Yeah, I think the four characters here that are mainly the only characters on screen, they do a good job at acting against each other, with each other, however you want to put it. But yeah, I think the best chemistry is Olivia Wilde as Penelope and Edward Norton's Hawk are the best duo characters that have the best chemistry, at least in my opinion. Just their back and forth with each other and their conversations they have between each other, because there's points in the film, again, no spoilers, where the couple, when they come together, because basically what the plot of this film, I should have brought this up at the beginning, but so basically when the two couples come together in this one apartment, they eventually kind of spread out and do their own things together. So basically Olivia Wilde and Edward Norton separate each other, and then Penelope Cruz and Seth Rogen separate together. So they go in Seth Rogen in Joe's office, and then Olivia Wilde and Edward Norton's characters, Penelope and Hawk, go elsewhere in the house. So having the two couples kind of mix and interact with each other separately is actually quite a cool thing that happens. And I think, again, of the two of the couple separate, I think Olivia Wilde and Edward Norton were the best of the two. But then, again, nothing against Penelope Cruz and Seth Rogen. I think they did good as well. But I think if I had to pick two of the actors here, or at least one, those are the ones I'd pick. I think the music as well is very interesting. It's very subtle music. There's nothing like epic. Obviously, it's a very compact, claustrophobic type film where it's just, again, set almost entirely in this one apartment. So it's the instruments, I think it's a cello. It kind of invokes dread and, again, claustrophobia because again, they were in this one apartment. Yeah, like when there's these kind of reveals and twists that happen, the kind of cello comes in and kind of adds that tension and does that really well. Next is the cinematography. I think is very good as well. Again, for being in such a compact environment, I think that the cinematographer did a great job at doing a mash of different types of camera angles, with especially the conversations between characters. Like the ones that I can think of on the top of my head is there's one that, well, at the very beginning with just with Penelope, Olivia Wilde, and Seth Rogen, when they're talking at the beginning when he comes home, and then there's a scene where I think she's in the bathroom and he's at the kitchen table. Maybe she's in the kitchen and he's at the dining table, and there's all this food on the table which Penelope has prepared for when the neighbours come. Again, and Penelope Cruz and Edward Norton's characters. And Seth Rogen's like, oh, can I have this bit of cheese? He's like, no, don't touch the cheese. And there's this exchange where you see Olivia Wilde in the bathroom, and then you see Seth Rogen, but he's not there. But there's the mirror which shows him in there. So very cool angles, very cool shots on that side of things. And there's even a shot where this is when Penelope Cruz and Edward Norton's characters come in when they've been invited over, and there's a point in the film where something reveal happens. Again, no spoilers. And Penelope and Joe go off into, I think it's Joe's office, and you see the camera kind of pans to that room. So they're in one room, and then it pans through the wall and goes to this other through the window, and you see them in the window kind of arguing for like 10 seconds, and they come back again. So it's like kind of like a one take thing where the camera tracks them to another room, and then it comes back when they come back into the room where Penelope Cruz and Edward Norton are. So that's also a really cool trick they've done. So again, I think the cinematography, again, for how compact this film is in terms of the location, I think they did a very good job on. I think my final positive that I have currently on top of my head, well, that I've noted down actually, is the opening credits. Now the funny thing is, which I'm going to try and quickly briefly go on to, but I actually thought there was a bit of an error because we had a bit of a technical difficulty before the film started in the cinema. It took a while to actually start up, and there were some technical difficulties when it did come up, like the screen wasn't in frame with the actual projector, so I had to go out because nobody else was, so I had to go out and tell them, oh, there's an issue with the screen, that it's not fully in frame. And to be honest, by the end it wasn't entirely in frame, but I was like, you know what, it's better than what it initially was, so I just left it at that. But I initially thought there was going to be some like projector issues, because there was like kind of crackling and stuff and nothing was fully in focus. So I was like, oh shit, is there something wrong with the projector? But it turns out it was actually the film, and I was like, very intriguing opening. So yeah, the opening, there's like this kind of collage of different things that are happening, like these squares. There's like the squares of where Penelope is getting stuff ready for the evening, and then there's some shots of Joe, Seth Rogen coming home, I think. I'm trying to remember, obviously I've only seen this once, so I can't remember exactly everything in it. But there's cool montage, cool opening credits, like the credits coming up, like slowly coming up, screenplay by such and such, directed by Olivia Wilde, like really cool credits. So I praise the opening credits, and I think that's all my positives for now. Now moving on to my mixed aspects, I only have two, one of which is the comedy. Now, as we all know, comedy is subjective. Everyone has their own specific type of comedy that they like. There are all different types of branches of comedy, and there are certainly particular types of comedy that I like, and I think the comedy that I liked most about this film, the reason why it's in my mix, by the way, the comedy, is because some of it worked for me, some of it didn't, because of, again, the different style of comedies that are in this film, because there is. The dark comedy is what mostly works for me, as well as the situational comedy. I don't know if that's even a thing, but fuck it, I just made it up. Situational comedy, where you're like, shit, fucking hell, like, shit, I forgot this, or, you know, I know very simple terms, but I'm trying to explain it. But situational comedy and dark comedy in this film works for me, but kind of the simplistic comedy that's trying to be funny. Again, don't want to get into any specifics, but just the kind of like, I don't know, like there's certain comedy, again, trying to remember bits without spoiling it, but there is just certain bits in the film where, I don't know, it's just trying to, it's kind of low-brow comedy that's trying to be overtly funny, when, for me at least, it didn't land for me. Again, I can't really go any further than that, but yeah, some of the comedy worked for me, some of it didn't. And then my second and last mixed aspect is the ending. Now, this is obviously a very hotly debated part of the film, the ending, which is where it concludes. This is where I'm going to talk about a bit of spoilers. But yeah, if you don't want to hear anything, please skip to this timestamp for my negative, because I only have one negative. So, the ending. I think the ending, where basically everything is revealed, all the sexual stuff is out of the way between the two couples, and the truths that they reveal to each other and all that stuff. And basically, near the end of the film, when everything is actually quite dramatic, because most of the film is comedy, but there are, especially near the end of the film, it gets dramatic and quite quiet, which I actually do like. There is one negative, which I'll, again, get to in a bit, but when it gets quiet by the end, when everything's turned down, and when Penelope Cruz and Edward Norton's characters leave mysteriously, which is another thing. It's like, shit, like, were they in Penelope and Joe's imagination? Were they really there? That's just one thing that's ambiguous. That's what I was meant to say. The ending is ambiguous. Fucking hell, why didn't I say that earlier? So the ending is ambiguous, which, honestly, more times than not, I actually do like, because, again, kind of goes away from the traditional Hollywood happy endings, or even sometimes sad endings. So it's kind of like, I love an ambiguous ending when it's good. And that's why it's my mixed. It's kind of like, I like the ambiguity, but as well as that, it's kind of like, sometimes I can't get a stance on this. But again, I guess ambiguity is kind of the charm about this film. Is that on one end, it's like, were Penelope Cruz and Edward Norton's characters really there? Were they imaginary? Were they really a thing? Did Penelope and Joe end up getting back together by the end? Because we don't actually see it. We kind of get it. There's a lot of ambiguity, because there's this whole thing that Joe basically was I think he was like a music teacher initially, but now he's a music executive as of this point in the film. But in the past he made music, and he has a piano in the office, and he hadn't used it for years. And at the very end of the film, we see that he plays the piano. Kind of a sweet moment, and you can't quite figure out if it's a happy ending or a sad ending, because it's like, did they end up getting back together, or did they not? By the way, don't know why I didn't mention at the beginning, but basically, Penelope and Joe, they're the two characters there. They're basically, their marriage is kind of on a riot. Basically, they're on their wits' end, not exactly getting along very well. And then again, Penelope Cruz's character is kind of a therapist for them by the end, and they kind of chat about, why didn't they get along? Because most of the time throughout the film, Penelope and Joe are bickering at each other and arguing, whilst Penelope Cruz and Edward Norton's characters are very much free spirits, and they're very chill with each other. So having the contrast between the two couples as well, which I was meant to mention in my positives as well, I guess, is the chemistry between the two different couples. Free-spirited versus completely insane for each other. Not in a good way, insane. But anyway, I just think the ending was, on one hand, again, like ambiguity, but I think the I don't know, like, I'm still thinking about it now. Like, did they get back together again? Were Hawk and what's her face really there? Were they a part of their imaginary? Were they a part of their imagination? Who knows? It's just, again, really cool, but it's kind of a bit iffy about it. I don't know. That's why the ending is in my mixed. Apologies for the lack of just description there, but that's that. Now moving on to my only negative of the film, and that is, while I think the whole franticness of the film, mostly driven by again Penelope, Olivia Wilde, and Joe, Seth Rogen, their bickering, just the high energy levels of the film are just very, at times, very strenuous. I can't think of a better word than that. Strenuous. Like, at times it was good. I mean, actually, it was good. Like, it was very like, shit, like, fuck, what's gonna happen and that kind of stuff. But more times I felt very like, oh god, I felt exhausted watching this film, just because of how loud and chaotic the film can really get. I mean, I'm sure that was obviously Olivia Wilde's intention, was to make you feel that way. In which case, this is not a very rewatchable film in hindsight. I mean, I would rewatch this again, but not for quite a while, just because of that. And again, everything else I really like about the film, most of the comedy works, the performances, the cinematography, the music, all that stuff I've already mentioned. But the thing that holds this film back for me, at least for rewatching it, is these high energy, anxiety leveled scenes where these characters are arguing. Just I can't really describe it any further than that, but it's just like, I don't know, I just felt, sometimes it just felt very exhausting to watch, and it just felt like it was just never ending. Like, certain scenes, you were just like, fuck, like, Jesus, like, yeah, again, can't really say any much more than that, but that's just how I felt personally. So, yeah, that being said, I would still give this film a thumbs up. I've been split between two ratings, between a 7 and an 8 out of 10. I'm gonna go with a... whatever I put on screen. Again, when I'm editing, I'll hopefully have a fully fledged rating, but whatever rating I put on there, that's what I put. I think it's a good film, a well-made film, that definitely has its advantages and has its disadvantages, but, you know, I think mostly this film works for what it is. And yeah, let me know, guys, in the comments below what you think of The Invite. Was this your first time watching a film by Olivia Wilde? Did you like it? Did you not like it? What would you rate it out of 10 or stars? And yeah, I think that's about it. So don't know what the next video will be. Probably be the review for Evil Dead Burn, because me and sometimes even Nerd2, we've been reviewing the Evil Dead films. Well, I reviewed the first 2 Evil Dead films by myself, and then the other 3 films, Army of Darkness, Evil Dead 2013, and Evil Dead Rise, we reviewed together. So yeah, Evil Dead Burn I'm looking forward to, and yeah, see you guys in the next video. Bye.